On the 6th of July 2009, along with the celebrations of the 1000th anniversary of the first mention of the name of Lithuania, the anniversary of the coronation of Mindaugas, the one and only king of Lithuania, was also celebrated. And at the same time that he was crowned, his wife Morta, the only queen of Lithuania, was crowned with a crown that had been made in Riga. This all happened on the 6th of July 1253. Morta and Mindaugas were the country's first two spouses to be joined by the Christian sacrament of marriage, and also the country's only royal couple. Having united all the Lithuanian lands, Duke Mindaugas realized that the country's best chance of survival was through baptism. Historic sources show Marta as a wise and reliable support to the king. There is evidence that her opinion was taken as seriously as a man's opinion, and that she even sometimes managed to sway arguments in her favor. In a dispute with Mindaugas, she explained the advantages of taking the position of a Christian king compared with being a pagan duke. Mindaugas could not counter her arguments. The queen's confessor confirmed that Morta supported the new religion and its believers, even after Mindaugas had abandoned Christianity.
Bet ar kada žmogus už kitą meldžiasi? Kiekvienas meldžiasi tik už save. Kiekvieną nuodėmės prie žemės lenkia. O aš pasimelsiu už visus. Tikiu į Dievą Tėvą visagalį.
Baptism and coronation were perceived as a political act, bringing Lithuania into the orbit of medieval Europe. The new religion protected it from the Crusades, at least for a short time. It is true that only the royal couple and the people closest to them, the top nobility, converted. The baptism of all Lithuania was to be delayed for more than 130 years. It eventually happened in 1387. Dorota was the archetypal pagan woman. This unusually beautiful girl came from a famous Žemaitian family by the name of Vidmantas. She dedicated her life to worshipping the pagan gods, took an oath of eternal celibacy, and became a goddess priestess. She was responsible for looking after the eternal flame and making sacrifices and offerings to the old gods and goddesses.
Saulė roda, lietaus nebuvo. Lietaus nebuvo.
Dorota was a typical 14th century woman. At that time, all armed men had to be ready to defend the country against the Crusaders, while the women kept the home fires burning and brought up the children. Dorota was 17 when she first met Duke Kęstutis. He was already over 50. The Virgin gave in to her feelings and he took her as a wife. Dorota had 6 children and she brought them up as good Lithuanians. Her role in the family was very important. Vytautas the Great, the greatest Lithuanian politician of all time, was born out of the marriage between Duke Kęstutis and the goddess Dorota. Vytautas turned the Grand Duchy of Lithuania into a great empire. He was an accomplished military commander and won the Battle of Grunwald, the greatest battle in Lithuania's history. Only through political intrigue was he prevented from becoming the second king of Lithuania. Kęstutis, the father of Vytautas, was assassinated in an eternal dispute, and his mother Dorota was drowned. At least that is what some sources say. Others say that Dorota returned to Palanga and worshipped the pagan gods there until her death. Her tomb, called Birute's Hill, became a pagan holy site, and later it became a Christian site of worship. Birute herself became a national heroine and the subject of many songs and legends. She is still highly respected as the mother of the country's greatest politician. Bona Sforza, the Duchess of Bona and Milan, married Sigismund the Old, the King of Poland and Grand Duke of Lithuania. This refined woman brought with her to the lands of the Grand Duchy of Lithuania not only Renaissance culture, but also pasta, many kinds of vegetable, and even the fork. She founded the first high school here and sponsored education and the arts. Historians consider Queen Bona to be a great economic reformer. Some call her a financial genius. At Bona's initiative, land reform was begun, by which the three-field system was introduced. This increased agricultural production so that the Lithuanian nobles were able to stop indulging in their usual warlike occupations. and benefit financially by exporting their crops through the Baltic ports. Central and Eastern Europe was becoming a producer of raw materials, such as corn and flax, for Western Europe. Bona Sforza also supported the establishment of mills, the first real business enterprises. Her personal legacy was more painful. Her spoiled son chose an unequal marriage by marrying his subject Barbora Radvilaite instead of making a political match. Although Queen Bona vehemently resisted the marriage and has gone down in history as being responsible for poisoning Barbora, she lost this particular battle. When her husband died, Queen Bona was left all on her own. Her relations with her son had irretrievably broken down, and she returned to Italy. However, she did not enjoy the warm southern sun for long. Bona died an unnatural death, possibly also thanks to a poisoner, it is said. Barbora Radvilaite is a crowned Lithuanian love heroine. The story of her love for Sigismund Augustus, the King of Poland and Grand Duke of Lithuania, has been turned into plays and ballets and has appeared on the cinema screen in many languages. Barbora was from the Radvila family, one of the most influential families in the Grand Duchy of Lithuania. She was famous for being incredibly beautiful, with impeccably good taste and good manners, and for her excellent education. When she was very young, she was married to Stanislavas Goštautas, the governor of Trakai and a member of a rival family. After 5 years, her husband fell ill and died, and Barbora was left a young widow. Sigismund Augustus, the heir to the Polish throne, who at that time was married to the young Elizabeth Habsburg, met Barbora in Lithuania and fell in love with her. They both gave in to their passion. Soon, Sigismund's wife died, and there were no obstacles to their love. Barbora's brother and cousin were influential politicians and secretly helped Sigismund Augustus to marry Barbora. His parents, the King and Queen of Poland, did not even want to know about the marriage. Not long afterwards, King Sigismund the Old departed from this world. Queen Bona Sforza and her courtiers did everything they could to prevent Barbora from being crowned queen. Sigismund, who by now had succeeded to the throne, fought tirelessly to have the beautiful Barbora crowned. Finally, after 3 years of struggling and threatening to give up the throne rather than give up Barbora, he managed to overcome the resistance, and Barbora was crowned in 1550 in Krakow Cathedral. Unfortunately, she was already terminally ill. The young queen died within 6 months. In his extreme grief, the mourning king accompanied his wife's coffin from Krakow back to Vilnius, on horseback and on foot. He sorely missed Barbora, and he dressed in mourning for the rest of his life. And Barbora Radvilaite became Lithuania's most famous love heroine. Emilia Pliaterytė, who is also known as Lithuania's Joan of Arc, was one of the organizers and leaders of an uprising against the Russian regime. She gave her life for the freedom of her country. Throughout the 18th century, the Polish-Lithuanian state had been an arena for wars, plague and misfortune. Despite these circumstances, however, the Republic of the Two Nations produced forward-looking people who worked together successfully and in 1791 approved Europe's first constitution, which was only the second constitution in the world. Unfortunately, it existed just for 1 year. The Republic of the Two Nations was divided up by Russia, Austria and Prussia. From the very beginning of its demise, a plan was nurtured to restore the state, and for young people, winning back their country's freedom became their main aim in life. The world-famous uprising, led by Tadas Kosciuszko, was put down in 1794, and after that the state was partitioned for the third time, and most of the Grand Duchy of Lithuania went to Russia. Countess Emilia Pliaterytė grew up in patriotic environment. Guided in her aspirations for freedom and her love of her country, by a youthful vision of herself as a warrior. She learned riding, shooting and fencing. In 1830, inspired by the revolutions in France and Belgium, the Polish nobility also rose up, and the uprising quickly spread to Lithuania. News of the uprising soon reached the estate at Linksna, and Emilia decided to act. She donned a military uniform, cut off her plaids, armed herself with pistols and daggers, and made a fiery speech in the town of Dusatos, encouraging people to join the fight. She and her cousin joined a unit of rebels, took part in several successful operations, and occupied the town of Zarasay. She participated in one of the biggest battles in the uprising, near Radviliškis. The rebels were victorious in the first clashes that they were involved in, but later the tide began to turn. In the end, success eluded them. They decided to flee abroad. Emilia's escape was difficult. She suffered from hunger and thirst, and always had to remain in hiding. She fell seriously ill. Then, on learning that the uprising had finally failed, she was heartbroken and died. Emilia's sacrifice became a symbol to many generations of the desire for freedom. Sofia Tizanhozaite was not only the country's first novelist, although she wrote in French. It is also thanks to her that we know much about two important historic personalities, the Russian Tsar and Napoleon Bonaparte, when they were in Lithuania. Sofia Tizanhozaite was well brought up and had good taste and good manners. The Emperor Alexander, while he was inspecting Russian troops stationed in Lithuania, visited an estate at Taujėnai, where he met Sofia for the first time. The girl's beauty and her independent mind made a deep impression on him. This way, a lasting friendship and sympathy began. The Emperor made her a maid of honor and gave her a special piece of jewelry to wear with the monograms of Alexander's mother and his wife on it. Soon afterwards, Napoleon declared war on Russia and marched on Vilnius. He settled in the present-day president's office and demanded that the top echelons of Vilnius society attend a party there. The local elite supported Napoleon and participated in the march on Moscow, in the belief that they were fighting for the independence of the Republic of the Two Nations. Sofia agreed to go, but on condition that she could attend the party wearing her Maid of Honor's badge. Napoleon, naturally, was interested to know what it was. Sofia proudly explained that the badge and the title had been given to her by Napoleon's enemy, the Russian Emperor. The conqueror of all of Europe was not at all put out. On the contrary, he thought very favorably of the girl. Half a year later, when Napoleon's defeated army was fleeing through Vilnius, Napoleon said that his only good memory of the town was his acquaintance with Sofia Tizanhozaite. Incidentally, she managed to influence Alexander I, the Russian emperor, to reduce the punishments meted out to the Lithuanian nobility who had supported Napoleon. Sofia later met and became friendly with many distinguished figures in European culture, including Alexandre Dumas and Alfred de Musset. Yulia Jamika is a classic of Lithuanian literature. She is the only woman whose portrait is shown in Lithuanian banknotes. Her life and her work took place against the backdrop of an entire epoch in Lithuanian history. The brutal suppression of the 1863 uprising against Imperial Russia was followed by even more brutal repressions. Cultural and other societies were banned, and even worse, all printing in the Latin alphabet was also banned. Through taking firm peasant-like steps, the writer Yulia Jamika, the most famous woman of this period, marched to her place in the Gallery of National Literary Classics.
Palangos miestely, ten kur gyvena mūsų broliai žemaitėliai, ir aukštas kalnas Dorota vadinatas, žalioms pušelėms viršus apsodintas.
During the period of the ban on the press in Lithuania, a unique phenomenon, book smuggling, appeared. Books, newspapers and calendars were taken across the frontier illegally. The smugglers of books risked exile to Siberia and even the death penalty. But the distribution of illegal printed matter went on. Children were taught Lithuanian by village teachers or directly by their mothers who had learned to read. Yulia Jamika learned to write in Lithuanian and, infected with a strong anti-Russian mood, she immediately rejected the Polish background and revived and nurtured her creativity through her Lithuanian identity. Her writings became monuments to the Žemaitian dialect, literary classics and documentary records of old country life in Lithuania. Antanina Lorentaitė was the first woman pilot in the Baltic countries and also the first parachutist. She's a perfect example of the modern Lithuanian identity in the interwar period of independence. After flying with her brother Jonas, this wealthy Suvalkian farmer's daughter was smitten with a flying bug, and in 1935 she was called up to join a squadron and prepare for war. In fact, the conditions for the spread of the flying virus in Kaunas at that time were very good. With the Poles having wrested Vilnius from Lithuania, the capital was transferred to Kaunas. This former provincial town in the Russian Empire began to modernize itself. State institutions were set up, along with banks and cultural institutions. It was a thriving bed of modernity. The provisional capital developed and adopted a European identity at lightning speed. The Aleksotas airdrome near Kaunas resounded to the noise of engines. The Anbo plane was mass-produced in aviation workshops. Its various models formed the basis of the National Air Force, and its name was formed from the initial letters of the dream of Antanas Gustaitis, the constructor. Antanas wants to be in the air. In 1933, Steponas Darius and Stasys Girėnas made a flight across the Atlantic. However, they died in a crash despite managing to cross the Atlantic. At that time, their flight was the second in the world according to the distance flown. For Antanina, just flying a plane was not enough, and she decided to make a parachute jump. In 1936, the press wrote of her. At first, the spectators could not even believe that the flight was being carried out by a brave woman. In 1939, after Lithuania had recovered Vilnius, Antanina moved to the regained capital in order to work. Unfortunately, after a year, a tragic period in Lithuanian history began, and one occupation was replaced by another. In 1944, when the Soviet army returned to Lithuania, Antanina had to flee to the west. Some of her family were deported to Siberia. She spent the rest of her life in the USA, and she never flew again. The life and work of the cinema and theatre actress Eugenia Pleškytė are a distillation of the essence of the Soviet occupation. Eugenia lost her mother while she was still a child. Her father and her stepmother were later deported to Siberia, and the 7 children were left to fend for themselves. Her older sister, Ona, brought up the whole brood by passing them off as her own children, thus breaking the law of the time. Not only did she bring them up, but she also taught them. Eugenia became a promising actress, while her brother Jonas became a seaman and escaped to Sweden from a barge that served Soviet nuclear ships. In his absence, he was sentenced to death by firing squad. There is a scene in the famous Lithuanian historical film Herkus Mantas, in which Eugenia curses her husband's homeland for feeling no pity for her brother. Eugenia acted this scene particularly realistically.
Tegul būna prakeikta tavo Prūsija, jeigu tu negali pasigailėti mano brolio. Tegul būna prakeikta jūsų Prūsija, jeigu jūs negalit pasigailėti mano brolio. Tegul būna prakeikta Prūsija. Tegul būna prakeikta Prūsija.
The actress herself said that while pronouncing these words, she thought not about Prussia, but about Russia. Jonas Plešky's story became the main theme in Tom Clancy's book, The Hunt for Red October, on which a popular American film of the same name was based. The actress Eugenia Pleškytė received permission to go abroad for the first time only after she was 40. Her only son had to remain behind the Iron Curtain as a hostage. When receiving a Gold Crane Award for a lifetime's work, unable to hide her emotion, the actress said,
Būta ir anksčiau apdovanojimų, bet pats mieliausias, pats brangiausias yra šiandiena, nes aš jį gaunu. nepriklausomoj, laisvoj Lietuvoj.
Another way of surviving this period was by fleeing to the west. The best-known woman in exile is Birutė Marija Alsakaitė Gimbutienė. She was one of the world's most famous archaeologists and anthropologists. She set out the basis of the subject of archaeomythology.
Po truputį brendo mintis ir brendo tas supratimas, kas yra tie senosios Europos simboliai, kas yra tos skulptūros, tos deivės, kurių yra šimtai muziejuose. Ir tada, galbūt, sakyčiau, atėjo tos laimingosios, stebuklingos valandos, kada vienas po kito simboliai pradėjo ryškėti.
At the time, her concept of the evolution of ancient Europe was revolutionary, and her theory of the great prehistoric mother became a particularly popular symbol of feminism across the world. A researcher of the next generation who became famous through her work is Birutė Galdikas. After beginning to investigate the orangutan population on the island of Borneo in Indonesia, she devoted the rest of her life to the animals. She set up an international fund for the conservation of these primates, in the fear that their paradise might be lost. Man relentlessly destroys the forests, the home of these animals, even though orangutan in the local language means the man from the jungle.
Matyt, miškas čia, viskas planuota ir nebus. Prieš 5 metų čia visai miško nebus. Kol miško nebus, tai orangutangų nebus. Bet jūs galit matyti, viskas šitas jau atiduotas pamuo. Čia jau miško nėra. Čia jau viskas pamuo.
Although civilization and human activity are squeezing the Kilimantan jungle more and more, the researcher, who has spent 40 years studying orangutans, does not give up. Despite the complaints of her husband and her children urging her to return to civilization, Birutė Galdikas is still living in the forests of Borneo in Indonesia and fighting to save the orangutan's paradise.
Mes čia pirkam mišką iš žmonių kaime. Mes norim nupirkt 1,000 hektarų. Nereikės mums orangutangus įdėt į narvius.
Primadonna assoluta, Urmana imperiale. Violeta Urmanavičiūtė is honored by this epithet by top musicians. She's one of the most famous singers in the world, and the name Urmana, by which she is known abroad, has appeared on the posters of all legendary and prestigious theatres. Having begun her career as a mezzo-soprano, she later retrained as a soprano. Her interpretation of the role of Aida at the Metropolitan Opera was a triumph. However, doors have not always been open to this girl from the Lithuanian countryside, not even the doors of ordinary theatres.
Padainavau perklausoj ten kažkur Vokietijos provincijoje, pasakė, na, kur jūs dainuosit, kai jūs padainuosit Ėbolį kur nors, tai atvažiuokit pas mus, aš galvojau. Galėsi ilgai laukti manęs, kai aš kur nors padainuosiu. Ir manęs nepaėmė kažkur provincijoje, ten kontrakto nedavė. Bet už tai mane paėmė Milanas, Paryžius ir New Yorkas. Tai, žodžiu, aš niekada neliūdėjau, aš taip visada galvojau. Nepaėmė. Reiškia, bus kažkas geriau. Ir visada buvo kažkas geriau.
The famous director Riccardo Muti once said about Urmana, "When we speak of her singing, we do not speak about mezzo or soprano, but about her wonderfully beautiful and versatile voice and her remarkable talent."
išrinktoji Lietuvos Respublikos prezidentė Dalia Grybauskaitė.
Dalia Grybauskaitė is the first woman in Lithuanian history to occupy the highest post in the land, that of president. She announced her decision to take part in the elections for the president of the Republic in 2009 and won the election in a landslide victory, winning most of the votes cast in the first round. She was inaugurated on the 12th of July and took on the responsibilities of president.
Aš, Dalia Grybauskaitė, prisiekiu tautai būti ištikima Lietuvos Respublikai ir Konstitucijai.
Dalia Grybauskaitė became well known to the Lithuanian public in 2001, when she became finance minister. Before that, she had worked as a diplomat and in senior positions in international organizations. In 2004, she was appointed European Commissioner for Financial Programming and the Budget. She was appointed a European Commissioner by the European Council after only a year. She did not hide her joy at gaining this position.
Jaučiuosi praktiškai kaip sportininkas, kuris laimi olimpinės žaidynės ir Lietuvos himnas groja. Tai kažkas buvo panašaus ir aš tikrai didžiuojuosi, kad Lietuvos vardas buvo taip daug minimas šiandien.
Dalia Grybauskaitė is seen by society as a constructive, careful and therefore reliable leader. During the time she has been in office, no other politician has beaten her to the first place in the opinion polls. She continues to come first. Embodiments of historic personalities. Karalienė Amorta, Viva, a film and theatre actress. She has almost 30 films and dozens of plays to her credit. Some of them have become film classics. She has won several top awards in Lithuania. She's a winner of the Lithuanian State Culture and Art Prize and a holder of the Order of the Cross of Vytautas the Great. In 2012, she was awarded a Gold Crane Award for a lifetime's achievement. Dorota, one of the country's most popular singers, a winner of national and international competitions and a television series actress, a member of the television musical competition evaluation committee. She is one of the most beautiful and most sought-after voices in Lithuania. Bona Sforza, a soloist with the Lithuanian National Opera and Ballet Theatre. She sings the most beautiful and most complicated soprano parts, a professor of solo singing in the National Academy of Music and Theatre. She's a winner of the Lithuanian State Culture and Art Prize, a laureate and winner of many national and international prizes, winner of a Kypros Award and a Golden Cross of the Stage, twice recognized as a beacon of opera and opera soloist of the year. Barbora Radvilaitė, a ballet dancer, a soloist with the Angelika Holina Dance Theatre. She has played a whole range of leading roles, including Anna Karenina. She has won awards several times. At present, she is playing the leading role in the National Opera and Ballet Theatre's Barbora Radvilaitė. Emilia Pliaterytė, a journalist, one of the first people to risk working for the newly revived Lithuanian news agency SIA, a long-standing journalist with the Voice of America radio station, an editor and producer with the Radio and Television News Council, a television director, the author of publicist programs and films, an international project mediator, a holder of the Order of Grand Duke Gediminas of Lithuania. Sofija Tyzenhauzaitė, Laura Imbrasienė, a television presenter and advertising model, an announcer on the Triumfo Arka classical music competition on national television. Yulia Jamika, Veronika Povilionienė. In 2011, she won a World Folklore Oscar. However, she has been a national treasure in Lithuania for a long time, encouraging and promoting songs, defending and even reprimanding the whole nation. A decorated artist of the Republic of Lithuania, a winner of the Jonas Basanavičius Prize, a holder of the Order of Grand Duke Gediminas of Lithuania, and a winner of the National Prize. To most of us, she is just Veronika. Antanina Liorentaitė, Neringa Skrudupaitė, a journalist and an editor of national television news service programs, the deviser, editor and producer of the Let's Travel program series, a long-standing volunteer with the Bėdų Turgus Charity and Support Fund.